Okay, good morning to everybody in Australia and in Asia. Good, very late evening to, I know a couple people from London are up for some reason this late at night, and a very good evening to those of you in North America. It's great to have you on the second feature of my double feature today of live guests. And today I have a very special guest coming live from Melbourne, Australia. Nant Nissen is with us as well. Nant, welcome to the program and good morning. Happy Friday to you.
Happy Friday or happy Thursday to you, and thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be on your live stream and podcast.
Well, thank you very much, and I feel the same way about having you on here. So Nant is currently the founder of Thrive for Men and owner of nantnissen.com in Melbourne, Australia. She's a leading health and wellness expert. She's renowned for her no-nonsense, real and practical advice to help others achieve a balanced and healthy life. So we're going to talk a lot about health and balance and the total body and mind today during this as well. So I'm sure that for those of you tuning in, you're going to learn quite a bit. And Nant's been involved in the health, fitness, and wellness industries for 3 decades. So she and I share some common, very common thread. I'm an ex-banker, as many of you know, but I spent 3 decades in that field, and Nant has spent 3 decades in this area as well. So you've got a diverse, two very diverse people on the program right now.
Absolutely.
And Nant's teachings have been developed from her own personal experiences. We're going to speak a bit about that today, and a strong desire to help others be the very best that they can be, and to actually thrive and not just survive. So we'll talk about what that means. Nant will talk about what that means to her in a few minutes, and so we're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff as well. And as we get into the program, and I'd like to thank those of you that are tuning in live. I will be, please indicate in the comments section where you're viewing from, and I'll be happy to acknowledge you. And please tee up any questions that you have for either Nant or myself. Can be anything that you'd like to ask. We're very open. It's open book with us, and please feel free to ask anything that you'd like by putting it in the comments section. So I'll be jumping back and forth from the conversation with Nant and to you all in the comments, depending on what it is, on both LinkedIn, Facebook, and also Twitter. We're also streaming live to YouTube. So please do tee anything up in the comments that you'd like to know as we move on with the conversation. So with all that stuff out of the way, Nant, it's great to have you on the program. And I'd like to maybe start by you telling us a bit about your adulthood, and you've done a lot over the last 30 years. And my first question for you is if you go back 30 years to where you were today, minus 30 years, did you ever think you'd be doing what you're doing now? Was it designed?
Absolutely not. I was one of those young people who just, the world's at my feet and I can do whatever I want. And I was having a great time. And I was actually tossing up between, do I do marketing or advertising, or, what should I do? When I was a lot younger, I wanted to be a vet, and my parents talked me out of that. They thought I'd be crying every day. So, I was tossing a few things up. I was going to go into an advertising at uni, and I had a very big car accident, and that I was in the spinal unit, had to go to rehab. And that changed everything for me. So after I got well, all I could think of was, I want to do something to help people. And, even before that, I thought, well, marketing and advertising helps people. And I thought, but I really want to help them the way that lady helped me get better, that rehab person, that team. I want to help people like that. So that was the entry into the fitness industry. So that accident was a blessing because it changed the entire course of my life.
Wow. Yeah, how long were you in rehab after that accident, Nant?
Probably about up to 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
That's a long time. Yeah.
yeah. So about 6 months in full time, and then up to 2 years where you're allowed to leave, etc. But but from that, I've been able to understand and manage chronic back pain like 80% of the population. But yeah, that was my foray into the fitness industry.
Okay. So you basically found the silver lining in all of that was you found your purpose.
I did.
At that
And
point.
I think I've always considered myself so fortunate because, over the years, and you would do this as well, we all do it. We say to our friends, what are you interested in? What are your passions? What do you want to do? And, when I worked in recruitment for 4 years, one of the questions would always be, well, what do you really want to do? Is this something that you're really passionate about? And a substantial amount of people would say, well, I don't know. Is that a thing? Do people know what they want to do? And I would always very fortunately say, yes, you're here for a purpose. Find your thing. So yeah, I'm absolutely fortunate that I've since then I've known my purpose and my passion.
Do you find a lot of people in today's society, and actually going back through the years, do they know their purpose, or are some people looking for their purpose, or they lost and found it? What's your observation?
That's a really good question. I think when we're younger, we think we know it. A lot of us think we know our purpose. And then we find out that it wasn't actually our purpose, it was society's purpose, or maybe our parents' purpose, or, and we want to change things. A life event happens, and a lot of people lose their purpose after a life event because perhaps that purpose was fulfilling them, providing for their family, etc. But I have found over the years, a lot of people have either lost their purpose or they've never really known what it is. And I find that to be incredibly sad because I believe we're all here for a unique reason. We've all got a gift. We've all got something. And to not find that, especially when, as you know, when you do have it and you're so passionate about something, that's just such a big part of life, to be able to have a purpose and a passion and know why you're here. So I think we can help people with that.
Yeah, I mean, it took me 19 years to find mine. And of course, I thought I knew it as every year went by. I thought that I knew what it was. And I completely agree with what you just said. And I guess, what would your advice be to those watching right now that might find that they really haven't found their purpose? They might think that they have it this year, but then they find out a year from now that, oh, that's not it. So they keep going. What would your advice be to somebody to help them find their own purpose?
I think we've lost a lot of joy in our life. I think we've lost a lot of this childlike curiosity and wanting to try new things. So my advice would be to write a list of what are the things that make you smile, what are the things that light you up. Now, if you don't even know that, write down what you think might light you up, and just go and give anything a go. Go and give a course a go on a weekend. Go and give something a go after hours. Go and look at something online. Keep giving things a go. There's so much pressure in society to find your thing and then stick with it forever. That's right. That's asinine. We don't need to do that. Absolutely. Right? We've got to be able to give people the opportunity to try new things. And eventually, when they do find their thing, they're going to have so many transferable skills from all the different things that they may have tried. So it's really important that you just get out there and give things a go. And if you don't like it, that's not to say try things, get a job for 6 weeks and give up, but make sure you try different things and you will eventually find something that you fit into.
Right. Yeah, I think that's right. I think the point is to get in the game, get on the field, right? Get out there. I know you're a big
Absolutely.
sport. I know you're a big sports nut like I am. Get
Yes,
on the get off the bench and get onto the field, right? And in the
absolutely.
game. And even if you find yourself just get out on the field and you can find the position. That's really your purpose. But if you're on the bench and you're not in the game, you'll never find which position you're really good at. So just get out there, and either nature, the universe will help guide you to discover what you're good at, what position you're good at, or somebody will help you along the way, or you'll find it yourself. But the point is, just get moving, get out there, and get going. Would you agree with that
You
analogy?
said that perfectly. That is the best analogy, because
Yeah.
you will find leaders along the way. You'll find a good coach. You'll find good teammates that say,
Mhm.
hey, you're not really great at that position, but you'd be awesome over here on left field. So,
Right.
just get on the field, get out there and experience life. Because
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
many of us
Yeah.
don't. We live life through our screens, which is ironic because we're talking through a screen, which is great. But we're not experiencing life fully. And the only way to do that is to actually, as you said, get on the field.
Or dependent on other people. We have Isabella. Thank you for tuning in. Isabella's a dear friend of mine from she lives in Denver, Colorado, here in North America.
Oh,
And Isabella, thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate you. Isabella is always talking about champions and legacies, right? That people live in, and those all of you should really follow her because she's incredibly inspiring. But I think that the point here is to be a champion. You've got to get out and play the game, get on the field, and things will work out. Okay, they will sort themselves out. But if you're just contemplating and thinking about it and putting off key decisions in your life, stop doing that. Just decide. And if you make a mistake, right, we all make mistakes, then you can correct it later as you're going, right? Don't be afraid to make a mistake, right? It's okay. Calculate, understand what the risks are, but just get out there. Because one thing is for certain with life, nobody's going to get out of it alive. Okay. So have that perspective as you live your life. Nobody's going to escape life alive. So we might as well live it, right?
absolutely. And you're a footy player. So when I played hockey, I thought the most fun was when we got the most muddy. So, you go get out there and get muddy and get back
Right.
up. You're gonna fall over. That's okay. But
Right.
get muddy, get involved. And like you said, we're not getting out alive. So enjoy it.
Right. Enjoy it and get into it. Make something happen. In other words, don't wait for somebody. I learned long ago, don't wait for somebody to come rescue you and give you the life that you want, because that is not going to happen as you imagine. You have to dream it, design it, complete it before you start it, and go get it. Right. And that's really the point here. Take ownership for your life, right? And I think that makes a big sense. Let's continue on with your journey, Nant. And so tell us a bit about how you wound up doing what you're doing now, and then I'd like to really dive into how you're helping people.
Well, I continued on in the fitness industry and became an expert in that area. And I was told to get a real job by someone close to me. So I did that. I went into the corporate world for a few years and did fitness. I stayed in the fitness industry after hours because I loved it so much. And I became very, very burnt out and ended up in hospital. Now, when they made me better, I got out and I went back to exactly the same lifestyle as I was living previously, pushing through late hours, early mornings, and I got sick again. But this time I didn't heal quite as well. So I spent 3.5 years with post-viral syndrome, fibromyalgia, every symptom you could think of. Wow. So I went to everyone I could think of to get better. No one could help me. I eventually
sorry, Nant. Let me just. So was it physically and mentally, or
Yeah,
or
no.
can you maybe describe a bit more about
It was everything.
What condition you had? Okay.
Well, when you get any illness, I believe, has a component of physical, mental, emotional, and soulful, the 4 pillars of health.
Okay.
But when you're really unwell, you can't get your head off the pillow in the morning. That's a real trial in itself. You have a foggy head. You become anxious because you know you're not performing. You become depressed because after hours you don't have the energy to do anything else. You have aches and pains. You can't concentrate or focus. You have headaches, digestive issues, skin complaints. You name it, you will have that throughout the day. So you're literally just existing through the day, hoping that you can get into bed as soon as possible, get some sleep, and you're going to wake up refreshed tomorrow. And that doesn't happen. You wake up exactly the same way. And anything that you're looking forward to on weekends, you're too tired to do.
Oh.
So, it's not living.
Right.
And if you are having a good weekend and you are feeling a little bit better, then what happens is you become very, very exhausted after that little excursion that you maybe went out with some friends and had lunch. So then you spend the rest of Saturday afternoon on the couch trying to recover to make sure you're okay for work again on the Monday.
I see. So this was the mode and the cycle that you were in for a 3-year period.
Yeah, 3.5 years.
Okay.
And I went to every doctor because, obviously in the Western system, if you've got digestive issues, you see a doctor. If you've got skin issues, you see a doctor. If you've got headaches and migraines, you see someone else.
Right.
So when you've got anxiety, you go see a psychologist or whoever you want to see. And then I found someone who actually helped me to heal. And then when I got better, I thought, I've got to learn this so I can tell it was almost like I need to go and shout it to the world. I need to tell everyone that they don't need to live like this. And that what I thought was right. We're meant to live, we're meant to be healthy and happy and vital, and we're here to expand. You don't have to go through this. That's our natural state. So it was almost like, well, now I'm in a real rush to go and learn everything so I can go and help everyone to live to the fullest.
So you really found your purpose at that point, right?
Yes.
That going through that 3 years of trauma and with your own health and your own issues across an array of symptoms and that type of thing. So you got better. Right. You got better finally.
Yeah.
And then you had the fire in your belly to go out there and make sure that everybody that you touch doesn't experience the same amount of difficulty that you had.
Absolutely. No one should experience anything like that over any length of time. And when I was getting better, I remember thinking, this is why. Because I meant to go and help everyone get better. That's why I got so sick. Right. So I looked at it like, now, that's great because I can only really help people when I understand it myself. And what better way to understand it is when you experience it yourself. And then you go and learn it. So that was very exciting for me.
Yeah. So then right after this, then you had your purpose, you had your determination, your persistence, the fuel, fire in your belly. So you went out and got certain qualifications, or tell us a bit about that. Yeah.
So naturopath, nutritionist, counselor, got NLP, massage and aromatherapy was a lot. Was down with the fitness industry, sports rehab, etc. Master trainer. So eating and psychology, and mindfulness, meditation, Reiki, bar, which is a type of exercise where you combine yoga, ballet, and Pilates.
Wow.
So over 30 years, you gather a lot of qualifications, because if you love what you do, you just keep learning, you just keep studying. So, eating and mindfulness was a really fascinating qualification to be able to fully understand and integrate emotionally, mentally, energetically what happens when we take in nutrition in the body, not just physically, because we're not just physical beings. We don't just work like that.
So quick question on that point, then I'd love for you to continue. This is great. So the old saying that what is it? You are what you eat. Do you believe that?
Look, I do, but I think we've misinformed everyone. We are what we eat, but we are what we digest, absorb, and assimilate.
Okay.
So,
tell us what that. Dissect that for us.
So you can have the most nutritious meal in the world in front of you, and if you're stressed when you eat it, if you eat it too quickly, if you're reading an email, if you've just read the news and I feel very uncertain and quite fearful right now, then you're not going to digest that properly. You've put yourself into a further stress state, which we already live in anyway. We already live in this lower level stress state with our lifestyles. You're not going to digest that properly. And then, of course, we've got, how is your digestive system? Most people do not have a really well-functioning digestive system. They've got a lot of inflammation, they've got mucus, they've got stress issues, candida, all sorts of things can be involved. So you're not actually going to churn up that food. And then you need to absorb that food through the walls into the bloodstream. So the food has to be taken down into the tiny amounts, into the tiny particles to be absorbed into the body. Then you need your cells to take up those nutrients and utilize them as effectively and efficiently as possible. So there's a lot to do with nutrition other than we are what we eat. We're also how we are what we eat when what we're feeling at the time. And, even just eating more slowly will, in 80% of cases, can substantially increase or help digestive issues, reflux, for example. People, can I just suggest, with your main meals, time how long it takes you to eat. It has astounded me how quickly people can eat their main meals.
Wow. Yeah.
2.5 minutes is the one to beat. No, actually, don't beat that. You need to be going the other way, but yeah.
Right. So slow down. But I think you're talking about the total body here, not just the type of food that you eat. So it's not about eating a lot of greens, drinking a lot of water, kind of watching what you eat, avoiding this, avoiding that. It's sure that's important, but that's not everything, is what you're saying.
It's not. And, we're so disconnected from our bodies. Do you know, I'm sure I know you do, but do people know how they feel when they're eating? Do they know how they feel after a particular food? So often people will eat and they need to fall asleep at their desk 2 hours later. What's happened? Have you eaten too quickly? Is it the wrong type of food? Did you eat too much? Was it, what's going on in your body? That, or, I feel bloated and I've got a lot of stomach problems and I can't focus properly. Or, I've eaten lunch and I've rushed it down. I didn't even give myself 10 minutes. And now I'm starving again. I'm hungry. I can't seem to stop eating. Well, digestion starts here in the mind. So your body hasn't even considered that it ate properly. So yes, it's saying, hey, I might be hungry again. So when we get that right, which is actually really, really simple when you understand it and when you take it on board for yourself, you should have the energy. You should feel amazing. You should feel so content and energized after you eat. And you should have the energy and the focus and the clarity of a 20-year-old, a 15-year-old all day.
Yeah. And, a lot of people, so let me just turn this around a bit. So a lot of people, when they're stressed, then they eat junk food, right?
Yeah.
Explain why that is to us and what people could do, more importantly, what people could do to change that.
That's a really good question. We haven't been taught very well about health at all, but we certainly haven't been taught how to deal with our mental and emotional health.
Mhm.
So we haven't been given the strategies to deal with stress. And as life goes on and you watch more news and you see more things, you become more stressed, and it happens in such a slow way you don't even realize.
Mhm.
So you get home and you have your thing of chips, and a lot of people will say, God, I didn't even realize I ate the whole packet. Where did that go? That's complete mindless eating. You've got to, number one, you've got to make sure that you practice mindful eating. If you're going to have chips or chocolate or whatever you want, have it, but be present with your food. Actually enjoy it. The amount of people that I've said, just at the beginning, when you sit down with your beer and your chips, just for 5 minutes, be completely present with what you're eating. Really taste it, notice it. How does it feel in your mouth? How does it feel as you're eating it? A lot of people come back to me and say, I don't actually like that food. I was just eating it too. Yeah. And then the other thing is, we've got to be able to name our emotions. How many people do you know, you say, hey, how are you? How are you going? Australia, g'day, mate.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll say, good, okay, not bad. Yep, fine. Now, do you actually know how you're feeling?
Right.
So before you go to the cupboard, before you go to the fridge, check in with yourself. Am I bored? Am I frustrated? Am I missing sweetness in my life? What am I watching something that's causing me to get anxious, and therefore I need to fill a space? So we need to know what emotions we're actually feeling. And then the other thing is, when you know what emotions you're actually feeling, then we can put strategies in place to make sure that we can change how you're feeling. We've got strategies to change how you feel. And we've got strategies to change the anxiety, the boredom, the frustration, the anger. So if we can get to those emotions, we can change all the binge eating and the unnecessary guilt and shame that goes with it.
Yeah, I think that's great, and thanks for sharing that, Nant, with us. And I think what for those of you watching, and those of you that will see this on replay, there'll be a lot of you that see this on replay. There's a great self-help tack that Nant just introduced that you can do the next time you're reaching and craving that junk food. Go ahead, go for it, but spend 5 minutes just savoring every bite of that junk food, and then ask yourself, are you really enjoying it or not? But be completely present with it, and see how you feel after you eat it, right? And while you're eating it, more importantly. And I think that's a very interesting, I've never heard that concept before. So next time I'm craving that, I'm going to give that a go, Nant.
Absolutely. So, and just one more thing, do this. This is really interesting. This is very oversimplified, but a lot of people will crave chocolate or something sweet when they're wanting something sweet in their life. A lot of people will crave nuts or something crunchy when they're watching something that's frustrating them on television. So also be aware of what in your surroundings is creating that within you.
Never thought of that either. That's a key learning for me as well. So that's fantastic. Thanks for that. Just to quickly go over here, Joe, welcome to the program. We have Joe Gonzalez from Miami here. We have Regina Hutchings from Philadelphia is here as well. So it's great to have both of you here. We have my friend Nadia here as well. Nadia, thank you so much for taking the time to drop by. And Nadia is an incredibly inspirational person that everybody should be following. So thank you all for that as well. Joe is agreeing with you on your take around diet. Joe is in the gym at 2:30 Eastern time in the US every day. So he does understand how to take care of his body, and he helps people with that as well. So thanks for that. And so folks, please tee up your questions. And Nadia, sorry, I failed to mention that you're from Ann Arbor, Michigan, the home of the Michigan Wolverines. So the great state of Michigan here in the US. So thank you all for tuning in. Please do tee up your questions. So, okay, Nant. So let's talk about men's health. Now it's a bit different when you and I met. I guess it was probably last year. it
Yeah,
was,
wow.
I had to do it. I had to do a second take and say, well, men's health. Well, what about women's health? What's going on here? And so I know your story, but would you please tell us the parts of your story that you're comfortable with about how you wound up really focused on helping men?
Absolutely. So I obviously over the years, over the 30 years, I've worked with both women and men, but I've really focused on men for the last 10 years, especially
Okay.
because I went through a domestic violence relationship, and coming out of that, it just, the narrative that I saw, I just didn't like. It didn't suit me. It didn't make sense to me. It didn't fit. So the narrative is very much women against men, men against women. There's a big division, and there's a big, I saw a lot of punishment on men. And all I could think was, well, hang on, if people knew better, they had better strategies, they were healthier, I don't think that would have happened. If that person in my life was healthy, if they had the strategies, if they knew themselves, if they were feeling better about themselves, and they had the skills and the tools, they wouldn't have done that. So I thought, well, it just makes logical sense to me that if we help men to be their best, doesn't that mean that domestic violence will decrease? Doesn't that mean that violence will decrease? And, you know, throughout my life, I've had a lot of male friends. And over the years, especially the last 10 years, I've seen them become very confused and not understanding where their place is in society. And I've seen the damage it's done to them. So I thought, well, we've got to be helping people, though. We can't be punishing them. We can't be punishing them for what happened 70 years ago. We can't be dividing everyone. What is the way that you get better and you help a community? You understand them, you speak to them, you discuss with them, you help them to be their best. So logic just says to me, if we help men to be their best, everyone wins. We get happier men in the community. We get less male suicide. We get healthier people, mental health, emotional health. We get less violence. We get healthier relationships. We bring up children. So we get the next lot of the generation. They're healthier and happier. So to me, it just makes sense that we understand each other more and help each other.
It's very interesting to hear this, because I think that, I mean, it feels logical to me, because I've always believed that you combat the best way to combat aggressiveness is through kindness, right?
Yeah.
And to being kind. Now, at some point, when you're kind to somebody and they abuse that repeatedly, then maybe a different tact is required, right? But for the most part, typically kindness does solve a lot of problems out there, right? With the exception that I noted. And it's interesting, that seems to be the formula, the track that you're on. How's it been going? Tell us how it's been going.
Look, amazingly. There are so many men out there that want the help, that want to learn the strategies, that want to be better. They want to be better partners, better leaders. They want better mentors. They want the communities. They just haven't been taught. And, you know, both women and men haven't been taught a lot of these strategies, a lot of health, mental, emotional, physical, soulful, all the 4 pillars of health. But women and men handle that differently. So it's been received incredibly well. I do get a few comments saying, why would you be in the men's health space?
Right.
But I also think it's really important, I come from a different perspective and can see things in a different way. So that can also help men. But it's been tremendous. You know, men want help. They want to be able to be their best. They just need someone to support them, like everyone, support them, guide them, and educate them in a way that suits them and is healthy. So We've got a lot of work to do, though, because there's still a preconception in society that men need to be strong, hold their own, don't be vulnerable, don't be open, don't talk, just get on with what you're doing, provide, etc. Really toxic narrative. I don't believe in toxic masculinity. There's nothing toxic about being masculine at all. There's toxic behaviours in everyone. And we want to stamp them out in our community. But masculinity is not in itself toxic at all. So we just need to be able to give men the opportunity to learn a better and new way to do things. And they want to.
Give us an example without revealing a name of a man that you've been able to help, what he was like at the beginning and what he's like today. Are you comfortable doing that?
Yeah, let me think.
And just pick one. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. One man he was very, very stern, and very what we would call blokey and manly. Incredibly blokey and manly. And he would be quite gruff. He had a lot of digestive issues, was overweight. He was certainly not having a good relationship with his wife, lacking affection, lacking sex drive. And even if he had the sex drive, his wife probably wouldn't have wanted to have sex with him because of the way the relationship was.
Okay.
So he had a few skin complaints, was getting a lot of headaches, and generally just felt really older than what he should have felt. Now, he was also surrounded by people who would say, oh, God, don't worry about that. After this age, everyone feels like that. Don't worry about that. Everyone gets headaches. Oh, you get them every day, don't worry. John down the road, he gets them every day. So, that we normalise illness too much. Now, so he was providing, though, he was turning up. He wasn't really performing at the level he wanted to at work. Look, he was showing up, he was doing the hours, he was doing what he needed to do, but the company wasn't performing at its best and getting the ROI on either him or his team, because he wasn't really there. He wasn't able to focus, be clear, wasn't able to engage with people. He wasn't able to lead. How can you do that when you're exhausted and you're not clear in your own head? And he was moody. So some complaints came through that he was not the same every day. No one knew what they were going to get every day. People were too afraid to go and talk to him. So now he's got a wonderful, loving relationship with his wife. He's got vigor and sex drive. He doesn't have a six-pack or anything. We don't need that. But he's very trim and fit. He's got enough muscle mass on him to feel good about himself. He enjoys looking at himself in the mirror. No more headaches. No more digestive issues. He is stable in mood. He knows how to communicate with his team. He knows what to do when he's feeling a little bit low on energy. He has stable energy, and he is just loving life. He gets up and he has energy. He gets up looking forward to the day. He gets up feeling excited about what he can provide and deliver and create during the day.
Wonderful.
And when he gets home, he's got the energy to do things with his wife and his kids. And on weekend, he's got the energy again to create the life that he wants outside of work. So he's like an overperformer now.
So he's polar opposite of where he was.
Polar opposite.
And how
opposite.
long did it take?
He's still quite manly and blokey. So, we didn't need to take that away from him. He's
still the same person, right?
He's still the same person. He's just a much better version.
Right. And how long did this take, Nant, from point A to point B? Yeah.
We worked together very, very seriously for a year, for 12 months. He got very good results quickly over 3 months. And then the 3 month, 9 month, 12 month, it all sort of in stages, incrementally got a lot better. At 12
Right.
months, he was feeling amazing. And then we just went on a maintenance to make sure that we're always expanding and always growing and always improving. And now 2 years later, wow.
Yeah, that's
Whole
fantastic.
different
Thank you.
life. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that with us. I want to pop back over to LinkedIn here in the comments. Nadia has a question for you, Nant. Can you share tips about stress, mind, and eating?
Yes. So can I ask Nadia, is this to do with work? Is this happening at work, after hours? I only ask because there's slightly different tips.
Okay, great. I'll while we're waiting for her to clarify that, Joe has made a comment here, basically saying it comes down to believing, valuing, and creating themselves. A loss of confidence sometimes leads to those behaviors. So confidence, do you find that confidence, as Joe's saying, plays a big part in this, Nant?
I think it does, but we gain confidence from experience. We gain confidence from trying and falling. So we've also got to understand how our mind works and how we work emotionally. Our mind is there to protect us and to make sure we don't change and we stay the same, because it sees change as dangerous.
Threat.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
So absolutely confidence is part of it. But I think if that were the case, a lot of people, I've never met anyone in 3 decades that starts their journey with confidence. So, you know, we put things in place.
Got to build it. Yep.
We've got to build it. Yeah, confidence is built. It's not a given. So we put things in place and we build strategies to change the underlying behaviors and patterns and habits, because it's the underlying behaviors and patterns that need to be exchanged for elevated underlying behaviors.
Right. I mean, if you have a bunch of bad habits, you're probably going to have some confidence problems. If you have, on the other hand, some good disciplines, and you can replace one bad habit at a time with a good habit, then that will lead to a far better life fueled by confidence. I want to go back. Nadia's clarified that question, Nant, balancing work life. So basically the question is, can you share tips about stress, mind, and eating as it relates to balancing work life?
Absolutely. So balance, I look at balance differently. People always, you know, there's this approach for balancing life that, you know, leave work at 5 and that's a better balance than leaving work at 6. Well, for one thing, as you know, that doesn't work nowadays, because nowadays, well, you know, we're on all the time. So it's not about making any big changes. You know, a lot of people will push and push and push and push, and then they'll go on a vacation for 2 weeks.
Right.
That's great. I'm glad you feel better, but you're going to feel just as bad after about a month when you get back. Right. So it's about making those incremental, tiny, small changes during the day. So first you've got to work out what your triggers are. When do you feel most stressed? Is it on a Sunday night before a Monday morning? Then you know that could be an issue. That's something you need to look at. Is it because on the way to work you're listening to the news and hearing awful things? Is it because you've got toxic people in your life? Is it because the first thing you do in the morning, instead of connecting in with yourself and giving yourself 5 to 10 minutes of understanding how you're going to create your day, you look at your phone? Is it because you're lacking dopamine because all you do before you go to sleep is scroll through Facebook, TikTok, you get the dopamine hits and you're running out of dopamine, you know, you're depleting yourself. So physically, emotionally, and mentally, we need to look at what are your triggers. You need to also, as I mentioned before, you need to be able to name your emotions. So, for example, you know, we'll go to the servo, or you call it a gas station. Right. So you go to the gas station. How many people go to the gas station, fill up, and as they're paying, they go, "Oh, I'll grab the chocolate frog, or I'll grab, whatever. I'll grab this and that, the candy."
Right.
Now, before you do that, just name your emotions. How am I feeling? So you're standing there and you're thinking, oh yeah, that looks good. Okay, how am I feeling? Bored, anxious, frustrated, annoyed. You need to be able to name your emotions. We have not been taught this, and it's amazing to me that we can't name our emotions in a very descriptive way. You know, we don't feel good, we don't feel bad, we feel energized. I feel excited to speak to you. I don't feel good to speak to you, Brett. I feel excited and energized to be speaking with you. So you've got to know your triggers, you've got to know your emotions, and you've got to be understanding, why are you craving this food? Is it physical? Is it mental? Is it emotional? Is it physical? You've actually got physical cravings because you're malnourished, you've got nutritional deficiencies. You are eating while you're stressed, so you're going to be craving foods later on. Is it because you've got some negative thought patterns and loop processes that are going over, that are just habitual underlying belief patterns that you've been brought up since childhood, that says, oh, just have one more, or you know, a treat yourself. Oh, it drives me crazy when people say I'm going to treat myself with food. It just drives me crazy. It's not a treat. If you want to have it, that's why this kind of talk leads us into really unsuccessful behaviors.
Right. So what could we
for a week and then I'll treat myself.
Yeah. What could we do about that then?
Get off diets. Don't diet. A therapeutic eating plan is very different than a diet. You've got to learn how to understand your body, what it wants, what it needs, and when. And then you're free. When you learn those skills, you're free. You feel amazing, and you're free. You know what you want at any given time. Make sure, if you've got a craving for something, and it's a craving that isn't going away, go and get the food, go and get the full fat option, go and get the proper version, and be mindful with it and enjoy it. And then move on to eating nourishing again. Go and nourish your body again. But go and have it and enjoy it if that's what you really want. And if you're doing something every day because it's a habit, and you're eating because I'm bored or whatever, then know your triggers, name your emotions, and have a list of, you can write a list of 50 things that could substitute for changing your state or helping you feel better at the time. You know, at work, get an accountability buddy. Get someone at work that wants to support you, because the amount of people at work, as soon as people say, no, I won't have that, thanks, everyone jumps in and says, oh, why not? What? Oh, no, have it. No, just have just have one with me. So we've got to make sure we've got a buddy there to say, hey, no, I'm not feeling that strong today. And the buddy can say, yeah, I've got you. No, she doesn't want any. Actually, we both don't want any. So you feel like you've got some support.
Right.
And make sure that you've got some strategies to change your state. So if you're feeling anxious, and you know that when I'm anxious, I go for the roll-ups or the Twinkies, put some music on that makes you feel amazing instead. It's a state changer immediately. Make sure that you're actually, so long-term, we need to deal with our emotions and what's coming up with longer-term strategies. But shorter term, we need to be able to make sure that we've either got, we know our triggers and we've got our responses, or we're doing things in our day that are going to contribute to feeling well. So if you get very stressed very easily, if you're an anxious type person, if you're an anxious eater, what are you doing through your, say we're at work 10 hours, what are you doing for yourself during those 10 hours that helps you to feel well? Are you going out and putting your feet on some grass? Are you getting your face in some sunshine at all? Are you going to a little pod for 3 minutes and listening to your favorite music? You know, are you watching something funny? You're watching, you know, a little 3-minute clip of something that lights you up and makes you laugh. What are you doing during the day that makes you feel good? So we've got to create the way we want to feel during the day instead of letting the day happen to us.
Right. How about let's talk for just a moment about toxic relationships, right? So that can be a driver of a lot of this behavior if it happens, especially repeated toxic relationships, right? So, do you have any advice for people that go repeatedly go to those toxic relationships when they're feeling down, when they're feeling dejected, when they're going through periods of very high stress and discomfort?
Can you just explain that a bit? So
Yeah.
they're already in the toxic relationship?
Or they have been in, they're out, and then they tend to go back into the
Oh,
toxic
so
relationship
the
because
partners that they choose are the same partners with different phases?
correct.
Yeah. So when we're doing that, we've got to take responsibility. You and I are both very big on personal responsibility.
Yeah.
And we've got to be able to look at ourselves and say, what is in myself do I need to heal? Because that person is a mirror of myself. So when I was when I left that relationship, I had to be able to take responsibility for my part in it. Now, this is when I say that, it's very controversial to a lot of people, because people say, well, no, but you're a victim, but you know, sure, there are things that happen that I would much prefer never to happen, but I can't get away from the fact that I have to take responsibility for my part in that. It doesn't mean that I did anything to make him treat me in a particular way. There's no blame. It doesn't mean that. But it does mean that I need to step up and say, what is within me that created that in my outside world? Nothing I do means that anyone else can behave in a certain way. That doesn't excuse anyone's behavior. You can go and say whatever you want to anyone on the street, and they get to choose their behavior. How they behave to you is up to them. But you've got to say to yourself, what do I need to change within me that created this in my life?
So that you don't repeat it.
Absolutely. So that we can heal from that, change our underlying behaviors and habits, and exchange and elevate them. And when we're in our next relationship, we attract a much better person, a much more loving, understanding, wonderful person that suits us, because we have better underlying beliefs. We have a lot of underlying beliefs from childhood that we don't even realize we have. We're not worthy, we're not enough, etc., etc. And they come out in any number of ways. But when we're with the right person, they will bring out the best in us, and everyone deserves that. So, and I also think there's been a lot of media and a lot of jokes and a lot of sitcoms, etc., that portray not so much a toxic, awful relationship, but toxicity in the way of put downs, sarcasm, the old wife ball and chain, that kind of understanding about relationships is not healthy. Your partner should bring you up and lift you up. So we've got to be able to heal ourselves. We've got to get the help and reach out and say, I need to heal some of these underlying behaviours, take responsibility for where I am and what I'm creating. And a very important thing is that I find, if you ask people what they want, they will tell you what they don't want. You say, what do you want? They will say, well, I don't want this and I don't want that. No. What do you want in a profession, in work, in you would notice it. You would have spoken to numerous people over the years. Say, well, what do you want from your position? Right. Well, I don't want, I don't want a boss that's like this, and I don't want to. No. What do you want?
What do you want? Right.
Because our mind will focus on whatever we give it. So if we keep saying, I don't want this, I don't want that, our mind doesn't get the don't. It just focuses on what we're saying. Right. So we've got to be very crystal clear on what we want. What partner do we want? How do we want to feel with our partner? How do we want to feel when we wake up and we come home? What do we need from our partner?
Right. Yeah, exactly. I think that there's an underlying theme that I've picked up from the past hour, Nant, from you, which is, and please correct me if I'm oversimplifying this, but I want to summarize this for the those that are investing the time to watch our conversation here. Maybe the best piece of advice for diet, for understanding yourself, for your physical, your mental conditioning, is the best piece of advice is to get to know yourself and what the triggers are. Is that an oversimplification, or how would you modify that?
No, look, I think that's exactly right. You know, get the help to understand exactly what you said. Understand how to connect with yourself, what your body wants, what it needs, and when. Understand that your body works as one: mental, physical, emotional, soulful. And you said it beautifully. It is simple. When you learn those skills, it is simple. And you're 100% right. We don't connect with ourselves. You know, there's so many apps now that, oh, I've got an app that gives you this data, and I've got an app that tells you how to, you know, how I slept last night. And oh, I've got this amazing app. I'm going to get this new app, and it's going to tell me exactly how I feel in the morning, how many hours. And I always say, can we please first teach people how to connect with themselves? Because this right here is the best app you're ever going to get. And it's the best real data that it will give you real-time data anytime you want. So get off the apps and get to know yourself.
Yeah, get to know yourself. Yeah, that's the key, right? And Joe is saying, be specific. Clarity is key in all aspects of life, you know, 100%, as well, Joe. Right? Yeah. So I think that's just spot on. Nant, last question, and then the hour just flew by. So
thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, but I do have one more question. What's your legacy? Say 20, 30 years from now, what do you want to be remembered for?
No, it's since 30 years ago, it's always been the same. I want to help people to change their lives. And I want to be known as one of the people in the world that helped others to understand that their natural state is of health, happiness, vitality, and expansion. And that, yes, they can have everything. They can have a great job, they can have a great career, they can have a great relationship, they can have great health, and you can have it to a very ripe old age. We're not meant to age the way we do. So that is my legacy. I want to be known as one of the people in the world that helped to create change around health, how people understand it, and how they feel about themselves and each other. And can I just add, I also want to save the animals. So I also want to be, I would love a big dog sanctuary where I could save all the dogs. So that's my other little number two. Okay,
great. I watch this space, in other words. So I think that's great. Nant, thank you for your time today. This morning, I really appreciate it. And thank you for all you're doing for men and for other people in this world to help them be the very best that they can be. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's great. The best way to reach you is LinkedIn. I know that.
LinkedIn, and nantnissen.com.
Okay, great. Simple. There it is. And I'll make sure that when we repost this, that we are very clear on this so that people can reach out to you. And you do you help people cross border overseas as well?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Okay. I've got so many beautiful male clients from the US. Absolutely. So
okay, great. And that's great.
Just,
and yeah, sure, go ahead. Yep.
Just to add into the legacy, it's really important that we help men to be their best, and we help men be their best masculine. that's also, a very important point.
Great. Thank you so much, Nant, as well. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in live, and thanks to those of you tuning in on the replay as well. There you have it, some wonderful advice on how to live your very best life by getting to know yourself and asking for help to do that if required. So, Nant, thank you very much. Next week, the cameras on the Packard Network Live will be shifting up to Canada, and I will have a wonderful person to speak with up there. You're going to love her, and I'll be announcing the details of that early next week. So thanks all very much for tuning in.